So thank you to the panel. Let's open it up to some questions from the audience. We have a few minutes, and I'm sure a lot more questions than we'll have time to get to, but let's get started. Mr. Longsworth.
I used to think farming was simple. I grew up on an Indiana farm where my grandfather grew corn, wheat, and soybeans. He knew where the seed came from. He knew where the produce was going to go, and he knew what his income would be. He grew potatoes, which were underground then too. But now I hear these fascinating, sometimes disparate stories about this movement of yours and of ours, and wonder if there's any overarching means of learning from each other that isn't bureaucratic, but which will provide education and inspiration to others who would like to emulate the good things you're doing.
Michael, you got to take that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to actually pass it back to these guys in a second, but there are two things that come to mind. Actually, three that come to mind. I'm going to pass one of them off. At the Food Project, we're specifically focused on youth development and organic farming. So we are a very different, different specialized model of growing both people and food. But in order to share that, twice a year we hold an institute, a 3-day intensive where people come to our house. They come and watch what we do, and we talk to them, and we show them what we do, and they ask questions, and we welcome everybody. There's a tuition for it, but we have scholarships, and really we're trying to get the word out. We've modeled, for numerous organizations. We've been around for 20 years, and we've got people, doing parts of our work and doing all of our work very similarly but independently in Austin, Texas, in Olympia, Washington, in New York City. It's out there. The other thing that comes to mind for me is University of California at Santa Cruz runs a farm apprenticeship program that is teaching all of this. And really, here's an idea. Let's see Hampshire run that on the East Coast. No one on the East Coast is offering a farm apprenticeship program like that, of that, scale. The other thing, and I'm hoping that maybe someone else here can talk about, is the Mass Craft program, where farmers are teaching farmers and actually giving tours of their own farms here around the state. I don't know.
I think it's way more active in Eastern Mass.
More Eastern Mass.
There is one out here, but it's. I think people have been disappointed who've moved here from the East.
So come and visit us in Eastern Mass. And there is, I know when I started the Food Project, and we're not even as active in it as we used to be, but it used to be every Wednesday that there was basically an open house on a different farm in Eastern Massachusetts every Wednesday of the entire growing season. And farmers from all over the area were welcome to come and take a tour and learn about what was going on. So it is there. It's here right in our backyard.
I have eligible land in Royalston. I live on a former farm. Is there a website where I can go and learn what to do? I'm on my own. I can't communicate with all you folks.
Yeah.
We'll set you up.
I can send you some young farmers that'll show you what to do.
Yeah,
I mean, there are great resources. I would say it's not. There's not one. It's not a one-stop shopping kind of deal. I mean, the UMass Extension out of Amherst has really critical information on a weekly basis throughout the summer growing season. What diseases are coming your way? What insects are coming your way? How to deal with them. If you're starting from square one, NOFA Mass has really basic workshops for people who are wanting to, how do I start my CSA? I would say the apprenticeship model is one that a lot of young farmers are using right now. It's like going and working on someone else's farm and learning that way is the main mode. But the place I worked at, the farm school in Athol, which actually isn't too far from you, has a year-long program for young adult farmers that's really diverse. And they modeled it on programs in Europe. Like, the Europeans have amazing agricultural education for organic agriculture, and we don't have it the way they do. I mean, years-long programs where people just are incredibly educated. So in addition, all the extensions come together twice a year and give a great conference that's really helpful. That was just last winter in New Hampshire. Just the New England extensions. And then NOFA's been doing some more advanced workshops, like my husband and I are going to one in early November in Eastern Mass. That's these farmers in their 60s who live in the upper Hudson Valley who are just excellent year-round growers. So, you know, and around here we have a listserv that one farmer set up that if, you know, farmers have questions they have. And then CISA is another awesome resource. They provide really specific workshops throughout the season for farmers, like, okay, marketing. If you don't know how to deal with your website or Facebook, or if you're a woman
the non-growing side, in essence, all the business skills you need to be a farmer. And it's buylocalfood.org. That's the website. Hidden message there. And also we have a list of all the other referrals too. So you do have to go to different places.
I just want to mention also NESFI, New England Small Farms Institute, Belchertown, and also NOFA has a journeyman apprentice program that's expanding through time. That's the copy of MOPTA, which is the Maine Organic Farmers Journeyman Apprentice Program, as well as the summer conference for NOFA, which used to be here in Hampshire, but is now at UMass. So that's every summer, second weekend in August.
There's also, sorry, not to harp on it, but thinking about, you know, other countries and the way they do their farm education. New Entry Sustainable Farming in Lowell is actually bringing immigrant farmers into Massachusetts and helping them find farmland and helping them to understand how to farm here in Massachusetts.
The western part of that is Lutheran Social Services doing that too. Yeah.
Nick?
Well, Michael, right?
Yeah.
You had made a perfect segue for some things I want to just throw out. I'm a Hampshire alum. I was here from 75 to 79. I want to tell Jonathan that just personally, I've been waiting 35 years to listen to the president of Hampshire College talk to me. A couple of courses at Hampshire. I spoke this summer at the Sustainable to the interns or whatever, and I said in my courses, and I said to them, and in my opinion, I'm Nick Seaman. I live in Leonard.
Yay, black sheep.
That the most radical thing you can do is grow your own food, politically. That, and I'm talking about you, your household, your family, grow your own food. And the two quick thoughts that I had while listening to everybody, and I was thrilled, and I know Phil and know Enterprise Farm, but and Howie used to work for me, by the way. Two very inspirational people in my life on this topic. The first one was Scott Nearing, who I'm actually old enough to have heard speak twice. He spoke at my high school in 1972, and I really haven't heard the same since. And I went to see him speak in Maine at the Common Ground Fair. And one thing that hasn't really been talked about here, although Oona kind of alluded to it, is home-based economy. You know, family farm economy, not growing 80 acres and selling wholesale, but addressing the issue of what Scott Nearing talked about. And he wasn't a perfect guy, and there's a lot of things about his life that I draw issue with, but aside from that, he talked in his books about the economy of your family farm, your family garden. So I just wanted to say that. I think it's an important part of something to throw into this as Hampshire moves forward. It's not all about going out there and growing a lot of things and selling it on the market. There ought to be a discussion about, you know, taking care of your own family first. And the second thing is, the reason I mentioned Michael's name is, I was at Hampshire in '76. There really wasn't a farm, and I wanted to study agriculture. So I was an apprentice at the UC Santa Cruz Farm Garden Project, and for a year. Before I went there, I went to visit Alan Chadwick up in the Round Valley in Pueblo, California, before he died. And I spent a year with his chief apprentice at the UC Santa Cruz Farm. It was the greatest year of my life. Anybody who hasn't been there should go. And I came back to Hampshire in 1977 and proposed to the president, not Chuck, he was already gone, he probably would have been more upset, that Hampshire needed to immediately start, be the East Coast version of the UC Santa Cruz.
Oh, wow.
That was 35 years ago. I proposed for my Division III project to build a multi-story greenhouse on the side of Cole Science Center, because I helped design and build 2 solar greenhouses in California, but that was before its time. It got built later. I did teach a course at Hampshire in solar greenhouse design, and one of my students built the first one in Enfield. So, just historically, I want to say how thrilling it is for me to hear all of this. We need to talk about the home-based economy, and just going back to the food world, someone said once, I was inspired by Alan Chadwick and my year at Santa Cruz for the rest of my life. We got up every day and gardened. We dug in the dirt, we read, we did soil science, we grew things. And if all this is talk, and people are gonna write books and teach other people how to do this, it's missing the point. Everybody needs to be a gardener. And in the food world, the great quote is, the world needs more cooks, not more cookbooks. And we need more gardeners.
Thanks, Nick. In the back?
If I can,
I want to give a couple students.
Two questions that are fairly unrelated to each other. The first one is, there's the value to the local food economy, but there is also a value to sort of the global food economy. For example, we talked about the food shortages. They're a bad thing, but they also link us to the food economy and the rest of the world, and sort of mean that we have to be concerned with that, and sort of your thoughts on what an appropriate balance there is. And my second question is about how, you talk about we need more cooks. How do you make sure how do you make sure people know how to cook the food? Because lots of people will get the farm shares, and then I had the farm share last year, our mod ended up with 6 squash that just sat in our mod for the entire year because we didn't know what to do with them. And same thing, sometimes I'll go into the dining commons and I'll be very excited because, oh look, they're serving whatever this is from the farm, and then I have some, and it's kind of okay, this isn't good.
Well, look, I'm gonna comment on the second part and then pass it off on the first part.
We should make that the last one so people can go here, Ken.
That's true. Thank you. So we're going to reinvigorate the cooking series for people in the mods and throughout campus and link it to the CSA. So not just how to cook, but how to cook with the vegetables that Nancy grows for you, which she has done from time to time and wants to keep doing. She just needs more time and some help, and we're giving it to her. I will also say that I've heard from these people specifically that is an issue for widening the purchase of CSA shares in all their farms to people who are on the lower income side of the spectrum. And so they always find ways to teach them how to cook with their shares, because otherwise they don't use them, they stop coming back, or they start asking for things that they don't grow. And so it is a piece of the CSA model. Anyone want to quickly respond to the global question, and then we'll
I don't think we
close.
have to worry yet about being too independent from the global food system, because honestly, really 90 to 95% of your food is coming from it. So I think if we're successful, that would be a great question to say, how do we stay connected globally if somehow commerce and trade has been cut way back? I think we'll always want to be importing things that are amazingly unique and that can't be grown here, and those will be the special things we have from time to time. Yeah.
I think it's a problem we can hope to have.
Yeah.
I think first I'd rather go with the old saying of think globally, act locally, and try to effect a change. If we look at the global food supply, there is not a food shortage. It's a question of getting the food to where it needs to be. So I think addressing that first is a bigger issue for me. And just really quickly looking at if you want to start talking about industrial food systems and looking at that, there was a study that was put out recently that shows, and everyone can refute studies either way, but that actually shows that on a 4-year rotation cycle, sticking with a single crop, even with old, corn and wheat growing, but rotating that crop through into fallow years and actually feeding livestock, that you can produce more over 4 years with rotation without chemicals and pesticides, or with integrated pest management, with using as needed, versus growing intensely every year, growing that single crop with all the chemicals and pesticides. You're actually getting more food out of that land over a 4-year cycle through the rotation, because you're treating that land with respect. You're looking at that sustainability, and you're actually getting more food even beyond that, because then you've got your livestock that's coming off the land. So, it's all about how we look at it, but I think it's a problem we can hope to have.
Can I just say one more thing about the cooking? Because I was thinking about this ahead of time. I mean, I think that the CSA model is great, and it works for people who are open and interested in new vegetables or who are already familiar with all those vegetables. But it seems like it might make sense to, if Hampshire's really thinking about the whole community, how we engage everybody in this food that's being produced, to figure out some other ways to get people involved in the farm and in the production of food here. And then, it's not just with the CSA. I think with the farmers market, we're trying to figure out how can we help people learn how to cook fresh food. And we feel like you really have to cook it yourself, or have someone right there cooking and then hand you the recipe and go home. And that we've had, fresh food is unfamiliar to a lot of people, stuff that they actually have to do something with. So I think there are a lot of creative ways to think about that.
Thank you very much to all the members of the panel. Thank you all for coming. This is a great start. Thank you very much.